financial coaching and asset management. We're also presented by Goolsby and Young, Jason Goolsby and JD Young of Blackwell Realty, that bring knowledge, passion, excellence, and experience to the table when it comes to real estate. And with millions in sales this year already, they'd love the opportunity to work for you. Also presented by Fairlife Core Power Protein, Brent Atkinson with Wycard Realtors, the Realty Group, and by Sutton Pools. James Shannon here on a Sunday afternoon, first Sunday of the NFL season, so I already know right off the bat, obviously, you're going to be watching your favorite team if they play, or if they're playing right now, which is my case. So, maybe that's where you're at, or maybe your favorite team played this morning and you're still dealing with the effects of that. So, if that's the case, my apologies. And if you're listening to this after the fact because you're watching your favorite team play on this Sunday afternoon, um, then there we go. All right, and a little juice. Had to add a little juice to it. I thought the levels were a little low. If you're watching this after the fact or listening to this after the fact because your favorite team's playing right now, then welcome. Since my mic was turned down, I want to run through this real quick. This is obviously Extreme Talk presented by Complete Wealth Management and Complete Real Estate, your one-stop shop for financial coaching and asset management. Also presented by Goolsby and Young, Fairlife Core Power Protein, Brent Atkinson with Wycard Realtors, the Realty Group, and by Sutton Pools. A lot of action this past weekend. Several teams off, but still a good full slate of games. As everyone saw, we did not do a game Friday night. And then yesterday we were in Little Rock, Arkansas. It's a little bit of a haul. It's not the worst. It was a little bit of a haul, but it was good to catch up with the folks from Southwest Christian and Cornerstone Spartans. Want to give a big thank you to the folks at Southwest Christian. So hospitable for a guy they'd never met. It started raining in the middle. Actually, I think it was right around kickoff time or right after the kickoff. And the bottom just kind of fell out, and so everybody kind of scrambled to help. Some people got some plastic. They had already brought a canopy over to help with the sun, and the canopy was having issues, so they brought some plastic over to put over the equipment. And one of their folks was able to run the camera for me. So all in all, just a real hospitable situation. Really appreciate it, and definitely won't be the last time that we go down there at all. But that being the case, let's run through some of these games that happened this past weekend. We have, let me see if I can find it. So Thursday we had some football. The situation was in Alabama, there was supposed to be some weather coming through on Friday night, so a bunch of teams moved their game to Thursday night. A lot of the public schools and then a couple of the 8-man schools moved their games. Tennessee Heat and Evangel were trying to figure out a way to move it. Wasn't going to happen, and so that game just got called off. And then Sacred Heart was having issues in Jackson for Friday night with officials and lights, and so they had to forfeit their game with the Freedom Cowboys. But back to the games from Thursday night. I want to run through them real quick because there was just some awesome football play. Two great games. I really wish I'd been able to be there. But I want to run through these box scores real quick. Of course, right off the bat, you had Tuscaloosa Christian taking down Cornerstone Christian Rainsville 16-0. You also had Jacksonville Christian taking down Tabernacle Christian 58-52. So Jacksonville Christian stays unbeaten. Though these four teams, specifically Jacksonville and Cornerstone, they had a great game. I believe it was last week. And both had kind of rolled into the season, had done well in the first couple weeks, and now the rubber's kind of meeting the road for some of these teams. But to roll through the box scores real quick, I realize I haven't been doing that as often, and really wish I had been because there were some great plays. Of course, Tuscaloosa Christian won the game against Cornerstone. I mentioned 16-0. I want to give a couple young men a shout out. Sean McMullen, senior for Tuscaloosa Christian, not the biggest night you've ever seen. 7 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown. He also had, where's the defense? He led the defense. He had 9 tackles. You also had Jaden Yeager with 9 tackles as well. Yeager had a sack. McMullen had an interception. So it was really it really was a team effort. I know I keep saying McMillan had a fumble recovery, um, but it was a grinded out game. I believe there was some rain that came through on Thursday night, and so both teams just had to go at it back and forth, back and forth. So I'm just now realizing that I did not take that and that off. There you go. So let me switch back over. Still good? Okay. All right. The other close game that I mentioned from Thursday night was Jacksonville Christian and Tabernacle Christian. Jacksonville. See. How about that? Turn the mic up just a little bit. Let me check my side a little bit. I don't know why. Let's see. There we go. How about that? Let's give that a try. Mic up, mic up. Everybody watching, is that or listening, is that level a little bit better? Maybe. We'll see. All right. Going back to the Jacksonville Christian, Tabernacle Christian. The Thunder with a 58-52 win over the Torches. And both teams, fortunately, have put stats on Max Prep. So I want to run through it real quick. Some of these young men had a great night. You had Clinton Chase, and these are two quarterbacks that I've really liked this season. Their performances so far and how they're playing. So Clinton Chase is the senior quarterback from Tabernacle. He had a 63% completion percentage, 230 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did throw a pick. And then you had Noah Lee, the freshman from Jacksonville Christian, and he's been tearing it up all season. He had a 53%, so 10% less, but he also threw for 442 yards. I mean, that offense is there's no rushing stats. That offense is a passing offense. They're going to throw the ball pretty much across just, until the cows come home. 53% completion percentage, 440 yards, 5 touchdowns. They did not enter. They might have not gotten around to entering some of the stats, like some of the rushing stats. But for Tabernacle, Clinton Chase had 18 carries, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then you had McCormick. Let me get his first name. Daniel McCormick. 10 catches, 156 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, and then in terms of defense, you had Trey Andrews and Bryant Howard as the defensive leaders for Tabernacle. So, 2 great games happened Thursday night in Alabama, and then on Friday you had, of course, I'm starting with the CFA. So Friday you had one other all CFA game. Russell Christian, Victory Christian. Russell Christian, big 38-0 win over Victory. So a battle of the Mississippi CFA teams. Russell Christian came ahead on that one. And, of course, we'll talk to Coach Andy Braddock later on in the show as they get set to take on Hillcrest Christian, an independent team right now, or as Max Krebs would call it, freelance team right now, formerly 11-man out of the MAIS. Let's go over to SEEK, Southeastern Extreme Conference. A couple games happening this weekend. Zion Christian went up to the Knoxville area. White Pine is where Lakewood Christian is, and that's where Tri-Cities Christian is playing their games right now. They went up to White Pine, got a big 50-6 win. I don't know why Max Preps isn't taking the score, but got a big 50-6 win. And so Zion Christian kind of getting some footing up underneath them. Mentioned the Freedom Cowboys Sacred Heart game was a forfeit for Sacred Heart, so Freedom with a win. And with that, them and the Tennessee Heat have both clinched the number 1 seed in SEEK. So they will both host the playoff game on October 29th. And working out some times with that. Last night, also a SEEK game, or a one team from SEEK, one team from TSIAA. Lancaster Christian 46, Franklin Classical nothing. So big win for the Knights there to kind of get back on track. I'm realizing I am taking forever to run through these. So let's make it a little bit quicker. Lighthouse Homeschool, big 42-33 win over Ezekiel Academy. Ezekiel's struggling just a little bit this year. Lighthouse has been on a roll. I think right now they're unbeaten. Yes, 4-0. so far. So, and they have a big game coming up on Friday, and then a tough slate of games after that. But we'll talk about that here closer to the end of the show. Going through TSIAA, only two games involving teams from the north. Lighthouse Christian hosted Grace Baptist on Friday night. Golden Eagles came away with a 58-6 win. And then you had Franklin Christian and South Haven Christian. And Franklin Christian won. Hang on. I've got that score. It was Franklin Christian 49, South Haven Christian 12. So Falcons continue to roll in the TSIAA South. South Haven Christian coming out of the north took the loss there. One other game. Let's see. Is that all? Yep, that's all the TISA games. You had Christian Community, Providence, and Christian Community, Providence. There was one other team. Let's see. Yeah, Christian Community and Providence were off. Okay, yeah, and then Lighthouse played Grace, Franklin Christian played South Haven, and Lancaster played Franklin Classical. Switching over to the AISA, a couple games happening on Friday night. I don't think any happened on Saturday. Trinity Christian Homeschool, an independent team, went to North River Christian, got a big win, 50-8, and so North River kind of started out the year with took the loss to Ezekiel, won a tight game against East, and then they've dropped the last two. And, of course, that game coming up with Lighthouse Homeschool. Let's see, there's one other game. Springwood 60, Meadowview 8. So Springwood continues to roll. I believe that puts Springwood at, Springwood at 3-0. So Springwood School continues to roll there in the AISA. Going over to the SIFA out of South Carolina, you had Providence Homeschool, the Pack Panthers 44, Coastal Homeschool nothing, and I think Coastal had been unbeaten up until that point. Meanwhile, Pack Panthers with just the one loss to JDA, they're out of South Carolina, and then you had the Augusta Eagles 48. Orangeburg Christian 10. Let's see. Let's switch over to the Mason-Dixon Conference. Mississippi School for the Deaf 14, Louisiana School for the Deaf 12. That game was played at Louisiana School for the Deaf. And then it's kind of cool they're doing a home and home. That game was played at Louisiana, and then this upcoming Thursday they'll play a game at Mississippi, and Mississippi's doing several of those. Again, we'll cover that there in a second. Tennessee School for the Deaf was off, and then you had the Carolina Wildcats 54, South Carolina School for the Deaf and Blind nothing. So a big win for the Wildcats. Meanwhile, the Hornets continue to struggle. Heartland Christian Conference. One of their teams is the game that we covered yesterday. The Southwest Christian Cornerstone Spartans. Southwest, a big 44-16 win. I'll tell you what, once Thomas Stewart and Whitfield and those guys got going, there was no stopping them. They were Vargas as well. Griffith is a great player. Asher Dennis is a good player for Cornerstone, but just too many things happening. Southwest able to sling the ball around the yard and kind of pull away there in the second quarter, I believe. Abundant Life forfeit win over Arkansas Christian. Wesleyan Christian gets the 54-8 win over Claremore Christian. Life Christian out of Oklahoma, they took on Welch High School out of Oklahoma, lost 56-0. And Destiny Christian 36, Crossover Prep 28. And I believe that puts Destiny in the driver's seat for that conference. Let me see. Might be wrong on that. Let me pull up standings real quick. Let's see. Let's pull up the standings for that. Actually, currently Abundant Life is in the driver's seat in that conference. They sit at 3-0 with wins over Arkansas Christian, Trinity Christian, and then they just had that forfeit win over Arkansas Christian, and they get ready to take on Southwest Christian this upcoming Friday night. Big matchup there. Southwest still unbeaten in conference play. No, they did take a loss in hang on. Who was their loss? Southwest Christian lost to Trinity Christian. Okay, so it was a 42-40 win, so it was close. So big game coming up on Friday night there in the Heartland Conference out in the Arkansas, Oklahoma area. And then last but not least, the NCISAA. I want to run through a couple of those scores real quick. So we'll start with the Big 8 division, which includes Cary Christian, the defending champs. You also got John Paul II Catholic, Wayne Christian, Arundel Parrott, Faith Christian, Rocky Mount. Faith Christian actually got an 11-man win over Beargrass Charter, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Beargrass Charter is an 11-man. So big 23-20 win over Beargrass Charter. John Paul II Catholic 74, Wayne Christian 32. Wayne Christian, the defending champs for the Colonial Carolina Conference in the NCISAA, and made the move to the Big 8 this year. Arundel Parrott Academy 54, Halifax Academy 41, Rocky Mount Academy 59, and Lawrence Academy 12. So a couple big wins there in the Big 8. Switch over to the Colonial Carolina rather. Pungo Christian 68. 68-34 win over Community Christian, independent team out of Wilson there on the east side of Raleigh. Mentioned Arundel Parrott. Father Capodanno 30, Northeast Academy 26. And I mentioned the Rocky Mount Academy, Lawrence Academy games. So that is your rundown of the scores from Tennessee, Arkansas, Alabama, North Carolina, and South Carolina. I know I missed Georgia and Florida and Mississippi for the most part. Got to figure out how to factor those in. But real quick, I'll go through the rankings here in a second. But I do want to take another quick opportunity to give a thank you to our sponsors. A lot of traveling has happened over the last couple weeks, really over this whole season. And it's not possible without them. So Complete Wealth Management, Complete Real Estate, Goolsby and Young, Fairlife Core Power Protein, Brent Atkinson with Wycard Realtors, the Realty Group, and Sutton Pools. A big thank you to all five of those awesome people for contributing and making it happen. Real quick, I want to run through, I'll run through these rankings real quick. I know I said real quick twice there. Good job. Let's see. I don't think anything has changed from last week. But here's what we'll do. We'll pull these up real quick. And then we'll pull up last week's just to see who moved around. And one other thing I did want to mention. Let me get this loaded real quick. With these rankings, there's been a lot of talk about them. If you're not getting your scores up on Max Preps and you're not, getting your scores to somebody somewhere, so the people that make these rankings and the people that look at everything, so they can look at it and kind of compare. If you're not doing that, if you don't care, then cool. But if you're not doing it, come on. It takes two minutes. Maybe 2 minutes. Just quick text, quick message. There you go. So, and it does affect the rankings. It does, because, at that point it's like, okay, well, do you stay where you are? Do you move up? Blah, 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 whatever. Okay, so let me move this over. Let's see. So, Evangel, Franklin Christian, Freedom Cowboys, Russell Christian, all stay in the top 4. Providence Christian has actually dropped to number 10. formerly at number 5, and then Fort Wayne King Crusaders out of Indiana have moved up into that 5 spot. KC East has moved up from 7 to 8. Lighthouse Homeschool has moved from 8 to 7. Christian Community has dropped to number 11. So at number 8 right now is Springwood School, formerly at number 12. Number 9 is Jacksonville Christian. They were at number 10, so they moved up a spot. And then in the number 10 spot, I mentioned Providence Christian. You've also got Hillcrest Christian out of Jackson, Mississippi at number 12. I mentioned Christian Community at 11. Tennessee Heat at number 13. They were previously at 13, so they stay there. Ezekiel Academy. Now, last week they were at number 14, and they've actually dropped to number 18. Cornerstone Christian Columbiana is still at 15. The Wichita Warriors were previously at number 18. They moved to number 14. So these are all kind of the mid card, not mid card. That's a bad way to put it. Kind of the teams where they're still kind of finding an identity maybe. John Paul the Great out of Louisiana, formerly at 20. They move up to 16. Cornerstone Christian Rainsville this week is at 17. They were previously at number 11. So the loss to Tuscaloosa Christian drops them from 11 to 17. Mentioned Ezekiel Academy is at 18. Pack Panthers at number 19 this week. They were previously at number 22. And then you have Tuscaloosa Christian at number 20, moving up from number 30. So big jump there for the Warriors. And then your 21 through 25, Grace Baptist, Southwest Louisiana Homeschool, Lancaster Christian, Cornerstone Family, and Tabernacle. So that's your 20 through 25. So the top 3 remain Evangel Christian, Franklin Christian, and the Freedom Cowboys, and Russell Christian. So those to the top 4 have stayed there at 4-0, and then Fort Wayne King Crusaders. I don't know why I was struggling to say that, but Fort Wayne King Crusaders at number 5, 4-0. Lighthouse Homeschool 4-0. Jacksonville Christian at 4-0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total teams still at 4-0. Very, very impressive season so far. Well, right now I want to get my first guest today lined up and get him on the line. Let's see if we can't get this squared away. There we go.
Hello.
Joining me now is the head coach of the Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings out of Knoxville. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Absolutely. How are you doing?
Doing well. You guys had the week off this past weekend, and you've had a good first couple games, kind of get everybody's feet wet. But you guys have a big one coming up on Saturday with Alabama School for the Deaf, a team that beat you guys down in Alabama a couple weeks ago. Was there anything specific you guys were worked on maybe last week or coming into this week, anything that you guys are going to want to clean up?
Last week was a big depth building week. We had a real hard-fought physical game a couple weeks ago, so just coming off that, it was a short week with us because of Labor Day anyway. So we focused on getting some guys healed up and trying to develop the second team guys and make sure they're ready because they're one snap away. So making sure they're ready to come in and make an impact if they have to. This week, just trying to get some snapping things cleaned up. I think that was our biggest where we struggled the most against Alabama. We just had a lot of snaps go over our quarterback's head and made a change there, and it seemed to have worked out. So just keeping that moving forward.
I want to go back to the South Carolina School for the Deaf game. Real tight game. Hairy game. And everyone saw Gabe Conger named Player of the Week. Very deservingly named Player of the Week. but we kind of saw his talent kind of come through last year. Even though you guys struggled last year, he was one of the bright spots on that team. How awesome was it to get him back this season and then to see not just that he came back, but it almost seems like he's gotten better.
Right. I think a lot of that has to do with just his experience, and he's one of the few guys that has played a couple years of football now, and other guys around him have got that experience now. Last year it was really only two or three guys that have had any kind of experience before. So this year we have a lot more players that have played and are contributing and making those key blocks to spring him. He showed up more in special teams almost last year, just because that's when he had the space to make something happen. And we really struggled up front last year. We're doing a lot better in that area this year and getting some more lanes to run through.
Now, for those that aren't familiar with Tennessee School for the Deaf, or maybe even the Mason Dixon Conference, uh, let's kind of get everybody up to speed in terms of the Vikings and just the whole situation with who they play.
Yeah, so it's basically the southeast region. It used to include teams like Virginia School for the Deaf, Kentucky. There were two schools in North Carolina, Georgia School for the Deaf. Unfortunately, none of them play football anymore.
Mm.
So it's really narrowed down to us, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. We were the remaining teams that play football, and we play everybody this year except for Florida. We couldn't quite get that figured out on the schedule, but we will make trips to both Mississippi and Louisiana this year, which is in Jackson and Baton Rouge.
I was about to say that's a brutal travel schedule. Thankfully, though, you guys do play Indiana School for the Deaf, but you get to play that one at home. Uh,
Yeah, that was kind of a late ad. They typically play 11 man. They've kind of started looking at playing 8 man moving forward, as a lot of those northeast schools that have a little bit more kids in their schools. They don't have, I guess, if you say such big states, they got very populous cities where there's a large deaf concentration and they're able to pull in more kids. But they agreed to play us 8 man this year. It's going to be a challenge because they got a they'll probably bring in 40, 50 kids. So we'll see how that goes.
hey, last year, California School for the Deaf, Riverside, I think was the school. Um,
Uh huh.
ended up really having a great season. They made some stories, had some stories about them. Was there a sense of pride, kind of knowing that hey, you guys are kind of on the same? Of course, they're in California, but you guys kind of deal with the same things, and then to see the success they were able to have, did it help motivate y'all a little bit, or kind of encourage y'all any?
Oh yeah. Riverside last year. A few years ago, the other California School for the Deaf, Fremont, had a game on ESPN, and then 2 years ago, Texas won the 6 man championship, state
I
championship.
remember that.
And
Yeah.
so it's at the end of the day, the deaf community is one community. We may be spread out at times, but like at the end of the South Carolina game, it's a hard fought game. The players are going at it during the game, but then after the game, we all come together. We break it down together. We all got our helmets up together. It's just a cool sight to see, and just a little different aspect with the deaf games.
It really is, and it kind of reminds me of a college atmosphere because they're real, except for North Carolina back in the day with the two schools, but even then they were on opposite sides of the state. But there's one school in each state. I'm looking now at the Great Plains Conference: New Mexico, Kansas, Arkansas, Minnesota, Missouri, Oklahoma, Wisconsin. There really is just one school per state, and you guys have to travel like a college team. You mentioned having to go to Mississippi and Louisiana. What kind of things do you guys do to prep for trips like that?
At this point, I think through other sports and just their travel to our school every week. So our kids will go home on Fridays and come back on Sundays. They're used to these bus trips. So it might be a little longer to these schools, but we'll we'll hit the road on a Friday afternoon and get there Friday night, hang out, probably do some kind of social with the other team, and then Saturday morning we'll have the game, do another kind of social dinner thing after the game, and then we hit the road Sunday morning coming back.
You guys get to have homecoming on Saturday night, and I know. Let's see, your homecoming game last year was who? I'm
You
trying
know,
to
we
remember.
didn't. Yeah, we didn't get to have homecoming.
That's right.
It got canceled, and then the year before that was COVID. So it's been a few years.
I,
So the deaf community's really riled up and ready for it.
I was about to say I couldn't remember if you guys had one last year, and I know you didn't have one the year before that, and then you guys were able to have football in 19, and you didn't have football in 18. So it's
Correct.
really been a tough couple years for you guys, but
Yep.
it's awesome to see that everything's kind of turning, and you guys are able to really get back to the way things used to be. Whereas from 2017 and before, a lot of people don't understand. You guys were successful. You guys had several conference titles that you'd won. You guys don't have a playoff system, but they kind of based off ranking or standings. So you guys had won some titles. You had full schedules. You had homecomings and everything. I don't think a lot of people realize that, but you guys are able to get back to that now.
Yeah, yeah. It was a rough stretch there for a few years. Just the consistency of playing for a second year, practicing for a second year in a row, is really starting to see the difference in the kids. And what's exciting is we've got a pretty big eighth grade group this year. We've got about 5 or 6 eighth graders, which is not normal for us. So that's exciting to see for the future.
Has there been any more talk about doing? I know you guys have it's a West Tennessee School for the Deaf, right?
Yes, but they only go through sixth grade.
Gotcha. And then after that, they head to you guys.
Correct.
Okay, I got you. So going into Saturday with Alabama, and based off the last couple of games you guys have been able to play, those first two games, who are some people we need to keep an eye on Saturday? Other than Gage, everybody knows Gage.
Yeah. Definitely Jordan Grimes, number 28. Just his second year playing, but the guy's a tackling machine. We actually missed him last week or 2 weeks ago for the South Carolina game. He was out, but he'll be back this week, and he'll make a huge difference. He's just our cleanup guy in the middle. Anything that gets past the line or outside on the edge, he seems to get in on it. And our quarterback, number one, Garrett Burns, he struggled a little bit with the timing just with the receivers, but just last week we saw that start to take some strides forward, and our receivers are figuring things out. We've got a couple young guys out there, so hopefully it all comes together this week.
Uh, I talked about how rough the last couple years have been, and to see last year the guys coming back out, and then this year, after last year not being able to get a win, this year, how awesome was it? How encouraged were you to see the number of guys that came out for football this year? Even if to most people it's like, well, that's really not a lot. You still had people coming out for football, kids coming out for football after everything that the team and the school has been through the last couple of years. How awesome was that?
Right, it's great, and it was just a great feeling 2 weeks ago. I was so happy for those kids. They really fought hard. We had some kids step up. We went down in that one, 2 scores real quick. But and the guys, they had a choice. They could have put their heads down and been like, "Here we go again," but they refused to do it. They fought back, and it was just an inch by inch game where eventually, with about a minute and a half left, we took the lead and we didn't let it go.
There you go. There you go. Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. One last question: uh, if uh, if there's anybody in the deaf community that you want to take a crack at, maybe it's after your season, maybe both of you guys had a good year. Who do you want to take a shot at?
Oh man,
Maybe maybe
we're already
maybe.
playing. We're already playing Alabama twice. We don't have South Carolina on the schedule again, but that game was such a good game. It'd be nice to get another one with them.
For sure.
Just a game like that. playing it again, I think would be great for the boys.
There you go. There you go. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and we're looking forward to seeing y'all Saturday.
Hey, thanks for having me. See you on Saturday. Go Vikings.
There you go. Coach Bill Osborne from Tennessee School for the Deaf. They take on Alabama School for the Deaf on Saturday. Excited to catch that game. They were supposed to have a game with Grace Baptist. I think it was. I want to say it was the first game of the year for them, and just had numbers issues and trying to get everything squared away. Of course, they being a boarding school, they work a little bit different than maybe your other schools, kind of like a Webb or a St. Andrews Sewanee back in the day. They just don't get their kids as early as, a Christian school that already has the kids living within 15 minutes of them. Or maybe not 15 minutes, maybe a little bit farther. But still, though, great job. And excited to see them on Saturday. I always love going up to Knoxville, seeing the atmosphere, the purple and white checkered end zones, and the way just the ambiance of the field and the campus. It can't be beat. It's a beautiful situation. You got the bushes on one end of the end zone, and then there's a tree line, and then the river behind it. It's awesome. It's awesome. Always great. Always very hospitable. Always a lot of fun to go up there and get to see those folks. So, real quick, again, want to give a big thank you to our sponsors, the folks that make this happen, make this possible. Complete Wealth Management, Complete Real Estate, your one-stop shop for financial coaching and asset management. Goolsby and Young, Jason Goolsby and J.D. Young of Blackwell Realty. They bring knowledge, passion, excellence, and experience to the table when it comes to real estate. And with millions in sales this year already, the two would love the opportunity to put their skills to work for all of Middle Tennessee. You can reach Jason Goolsby at 615-784-8687 and J.D. Young at 615-486-1121. Also presented by Fairlife, Core Power Protein, Work Hard, Recover Harder. Brent Atkinson with Wycard Realtors, the Realty Group, and by Sutton Pools, fiberglass pools done right. You can reach Brian Sutton at 931-624-4027. Well, I went through some of the scores that happened this last week, and I want to make sure, because I think I missed a couple from Friday and Saturday. So let's start on Friday and make sure I didn't miss any. Hillcrest Christian 32, Northeast Baptist nothing. Northeast Baptist team coming out of the MAIS. And, of course, we'll have Hillcrest Christian and Russell Christian on Friday night. Hillcrest coming in at 2-2, independent team. Any of the ones I missed? Southern Christian 28, Stewart County High School out of Georgia 14. So big win there for the Patriots, not able to play last week. And then on Saturday, you had the Fort Wayne King Crusaders 59, Petersburg Catholic 7, and I mentioned those other games. So, okay, those are the two I missed. Taking a look at these rankings one more time real quick. I love how spread out, and there is another set of rankings. Let me see if I can get them pulled up real quick. Because I don't know that they're up yet. Let's see. They are not up yet. Okay, so those won't be pulled up. But I do love how spread out these rankings are from the NHSA. So you've got Alabama, Tennessee. You do have two Alabama teams in the top three. Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, Indiana, Missouri, and some more Alabama and Tennessee in the top 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different states. And then, of course, you got Kansas in there at 14, Louisiana in there at 16, South Carolina at 19, and then there was one other state, Georgia, in there at 30 with Coastal Hurricanes. And I think that's it in terms of states. Yep. So, to me, pretty widespread top 5, top 10, really. Trying to see if there's anybody in the same. Of course, Evangel and Lighthouse in the same conference, and that game is coming up. Let's see. Let's see if we can find when that game is happening. It is 23rd, so next Friday is Lighthouse and Evangel. So Lighthouse has to get through North River, and Evangel, well, we'll talk about it in a minute. They've got a game coming up, and probably going to be one of the tougher challenges that they face this season. Let's see. Let's go over to trying to see who I have not talked about. A little early to talk about playoff rankings. Of course, I did mention the Seek situation. Freedom Cowboys clinching first seed. Tennessee Heat also clinching the first seed. And then later on this season, Sacred Heart and Zion Christian are going to play, and that will be the actual conference standings game to determine who gets the 2 seed there, because obviously, both of them with losses to Freedom. So the winner of that game gets the 2 seed, and then Franklin Classical Tri-Cities Christian, that game is actually happening. I know this one. It's happening the last week of the regular season, October 21st. And so then the winner of that team will have the 2nd seed in that North Division, and they will travel to Freedom. So we'll either have Franklin Classical / Tri-Cities Christian or Tri-Cities Christian at Freedom, and then we'll either have Zion Christian or Sacred Heart at Tennessee Heat in those playoffs. Going over to TSIAA, currently right now, Christian Community sitting at 3-1. 1-1 rather. 1-1 in conference play, with wins over Grace Baptist and let's see. No, they got the 1-1 over Grace Baptist and then the 1 loss to Franklin Christian. And then they've got them split into 2 different things. Franklin Christian is 3-0. Providence Christian 1-0 in conference. Grace Baptist is 1-2, and Lancaster Christian is 1-2 as well. Going over to the AISA, Springwood School is 3-0. These are in conference records. Southern Prep 0-1, Evangel Christian 0-1, Meadowview 0-1, and then Cornerstone and North River have yet to play conference games. And I think with North River, after this week with Lighthouse Homeschool, they buckle down. They'll play 5 division games, 5 conference games in a row. So they'll have a fun little sprint there at the end of the season. Going over to the CFA, I mentioned Jacksonville Christian 3-0. Russell Christian is 2-0 in conference. Tuscaloosa Christian, Tabernacle Christian, both at 1-1. Cornerstone Christian 1-2. Victory Christian 0-1, and Success Unlimited 0-3. So right now, if the playoffs started, you would have Tuscaloosa Christian taking on Russell Christian. Yeah, Tuscaloosa at Russell. And then, let's see. Tabernacle, I believe it would be Tabernacle at Jacksonville Christian. Yeah, Tuscaloosa Christian. Let's see. Well, if they do it, I wonder what the tiebreaker scenario. Let's see if CFA has any tiebreakers. Let's see what their tiebreaker setup is. There you go. Tiebreaker and playoff positions. Literally right there on the main page. When a tie for playoff position occurs, head-to-head results if applicable. So Tabernacle and Tuscaloosa have not played yet. That game is coming up next Friday night. Division play. Total points allowed against the other teams that would make the playoffs would determine standings. That's interesting. So total points allowed against teams that would make the playoffs. So for Tuscaloosa Christian, it would be a total of 26 points because they're lost to Russell Christian. And then for Tabernacle, it would be 58. So Tuscaloosa would be the higher seed. Which they would, yeah. So it'd be Tuscaloosa at Russell and then Tabernacle at Jacksonville. So let's go over to the SIFA out of South Carolina. Let me get it pulled up. Pack Panthers sit at 3-0. Coastal Homeschool, Coastal Hurricanes at 2-1. Harvest Christian 1-1. Augusta Eagles 1-2. And Orangeburg Christian 0-3. So right now, it would be Augusta Eagles at Pack Panthers, and then Harvest Christian at Coastal Homeschool. And then, let's go to Heartland Conference. Abundant Life 3-0. Trinity Christian and Southwest Christian both at 1-1. Arkansas Christian at 1-3. Unity Christian at 0-1. And then the other remaining 5 teams that they say are in the conference, no conference games played yet. So there's that. That is the playoff situation for most. Oh, real quick. Let's see. Let's go to North Carolina. Lawrence Academy 2-1. Pungo Christian 2-2. I don't think these are. I don't think they've separated the conference standings. So I'm gonna hold off on those because I'm not sure how the conference games get split up. So we'll go ahead and bring in our next guest. Get him on the line. Joining me now is the head coach of the Russell Christian Academy Warriors out of Meridian, Mississippi. Coach Braddock, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Absolutely.
You guys have had, I will say, just a little bit of success so far this year, but you do have some big challenges coming up, including, I believe, starting on Friday night with Hillcrest Christian, independent team out of Mississippi. What do you guys know about them so far?
Nothing. I requested film from them this afternoon. I haven't received it yet. Hopefully I will get with him and get some film on it, get busy on it.
Okay.
But right now, we don't know. He knows nothing about us, and we don't know anything about him. So
there you go. There you go. I mean, they're 2-2. They know you're 4-0. So there's a little bit of something. Hey, a couple weeks ago, John Benny Jones named the Player of the Week, and every week he's really just put on a show for you guys. How awesome has it been? Of course, he had a great season last year, but you guys had a ton of talent, and then he was able to step up this year and really, really come through. How awesome has it been to see how much he's grown and how much he's contributing?
Oh, it's awesome. He's just an athlete. He's just the kind of kid that you don't. He's just the kind of kid you love to coach. They don't come like him all the time. He was a defensive player of the year in our league. He was our leading receiver on offense last year. He's just a playmaker. He's tough. He's gritty. As far as what he's done this year at quarterback, he stepped right in because he had some big shoes to fill with filling Micah Taylor's shoes.
Oh, no doubt.
He's averaging, roughly 170 yards a game passing. He's rushing 130 yards a game. He's just doing real well. He's going to make something happen. Even when the play doesn't go well, it doesn't go our way, he's going to turn it into something. He's just got a lot of grit, and he's got a great attitude. Just the kind of kid I love to coach.
I know you always tell the kids, and every coach tells their kids, hey, we don't look ahead, we focus week by week. But I have to bring it up in you guys' conference in the CFA, the ACSC. every year there's one or two teams other than y'all that you go, okay, we're gonna have to keep an eye on them. This year, in my opinion, there's three or four teams that
Absolutely.
they play each other, and yeah, one team has to lose, but it's not a blowout. And you guys have beaten one of those teams in Tuscaloosa, but then after this week, you've got three real tough games coming, and two of them are on the road. So, what are some things that you guys can do going into Friday with Hillcrest? Even though you guys don't know anything about them, what are some things you guys can do now to start preparing for those games, those conference games coming up?
Well, normally what I do is I study our film Friday night on Sunday. Mondays at practice, we normally try to correct what we did Friday night, things we need to clean up on. And so as far as coming this Friday night, I'm sure we'll get film on them by tomorrow. We can start to put together a game plan. But you're right, we got Cornerstone coming up. They're no joke. Tabernacle's going to be no joke. We got some tough teams coming up.
Jacksonville's 4-0 too.
They're airing it out. Their quarterback's doing a great job for them. They're well coached. Tommy Miller's been doing this a long time. He is a great coach. This is not as tough a conference this year as we've had to face in the last 5 or 6 years.
I know coaches I don't know that a lot of coaches pay attention to it, but if you had to think of somewhere off the top of your head that you go, man, that's a tough place to go in and play because you guys have some road games this year. Is there a place that you look at and go, man, I got to do just a little more prep because, it's a tough place to go into and play?
Probably Tabernacle.
Really?
Probably Tabernacle. They got a lot of kids returning. They got a unbelievable quarterback. They're well coached. They got a good receiver. They've got a good line. And that's going to be the only 80-yard field we play on.
Right.
And, they play on it all the time. The end zone, we still got to put it in the end zone, and we still got to stop them from getting in the end zone. It's still going to be football, but I always get nervous when we go there. It's just they've been on my mind. Tabernacle's been on my mind since last year.
Really?
They got some tools. They're matured. I'm looking for that to be a real good game this year.
Now, I mentioned John Binney earlier, but going into Friday night, of course, we're looking forward to being down there. Who are some other guys we need to keep an eye on? Or who are some guys that have contributed over the last couple of weeks that you go, I really, really want to promote this kid?
I've got two receivers doing a great job. Cameron Darden, he's had several catches, several touchdowns. Gabe Brinson, my tight end, we like going to him. Defensively, I've got a Jace Wiggins playing linebacker. He's averaging 8 tackles a game. He's behind John Benny. John Benny's probably averaging 12 or 13. And I've got a nose tackle that I'm just super pleased with this year, Dennis Childers. He's averaging 8 tackles a game. In a long time, I can't remember if I've ever had a nose tackle average that many tackles a game. He's quick. He's strong. He plays sideline to sideline. Really pleased with them three on defense. So.
Now, I don't want to jinx it, but
Please don't.
You guys haven't lost since August of 2020. Okay, it's been a little over 2 years. If it were to happen, and I kind of because I want to get a coach's perspective on this, a coach's perspective that's done a lot of winning. What's one of the first things you're saying to your guys coming off? Because you've got some guys on your team that have never lost a football game. What are you saying to your guys?
First, I tell them, you know what it feels like to get hit in the mouth.
Right.
But I'm a firm believer. The old saying, you can learn a line from a book. What is it? You can learn a line from a win, but you can learn a book from a loss.
Yep.
Sometimes, a couple of years ago, we lost against Ezekiel. First time we'd won and lost in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And we played our best ball after that loss. You're Local Jacksonville. They beat us 2 years ago.
Yep.
Heck of a game, a one-score game. And we came out the next week and played lights out. I hate losing, but sometimes a loss isn't always the worst thing in the world. A lot of times the worst thing in the world is winning and taking it for granted.
Right. Well, it almost seems like a lot when they don't happen very often, a loss can kind of put everything in perspective for you and go, okay, winning covers up a whole lot, but here's what we need to fix going into next week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've, like I said, I hate to lose, but losing isn't the worst thing in the world. A loss, you can't be a winner if you don't know what it feels like to lose.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
you guys have a great environment there at home games, and from everything I've heard about it, I'm looking forward to experiencing it Friday night. But what are some of the things that you think make your place special in terms of just the environment that when teams come in, it kind of takes them back a little bit?
Well, it's nothing for us to have 300 or 400 people there on a Friday night in our stand.
Right.
A lot of times it's standing room only, and that could be a little intimidating to a few schools. We have our fans are great. They follow us to a lot of our games.
Right.
It's a great atmosphere. Our parents are great. The leadership at our school, the department heads are great. They support our program. So it's just a good place to be. I tell everybody it's a good place. Russell Christian Academy is a good place for a kid to be. It's a good place to coach Andy to be.
Do you feel like the wins this so far that you've had this season, even Friday night, do you feel like those wins are the guys' confidence is growing a little bit with each game, or do you ever get the feeling from the guys that they just kind of look around and go, "Whoo, we got out of that one. Let's move on"?
Actually, truth of it is, I don't think we played our best ball yet.
Really?
No, we still got a few things to work out. We still got a couple of holes here and there we're filling. And we do every year. We went to the state championship last year. Practice the week of the state championship. Still correcting things. That's what practice is for. Those saying don't sweat the small things. At Russell, we sweat the small things. We're constantly working on the little details throughout practice. We feel like if we take care of the little details, the big ones will take care of themselves.
Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. One last question. You
Yes,
guys, big win a couple weeks ago over Ezekiel, a team that had beat you guys a couple times over the last couple of years. Kind of one of those rivalry games where you're like, okay, we need to get this win. You got the win done. You got the win. You got it done. Do you look at across the landscape of 8-man and go, you know what? In terms of being a measuring stick, is there somebody that you kind of want to play to see where your team is at?
I'd like to play Evangel out of Alabaster. I wish I could play them this year. Tim Smith and I have tried to schedule, 2 or 3 years in a row. We've been unable to. But now Ezekiel, they're well coached. Hunter does a great job with them.
For sure.
They jumped up on us 18-6 on. Actually, it was 3 mistakes we made that they took advantage of it and put it in the end zone. But our guys showed a lot of grit to come back from it, and I think they won it 38-18. But if I had a school that I'd really like to play to see how we'd match up. Don't know how we'd turn out. He's a great coach at Evangel.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's got a good team. I'm constantly looking at their stats and their scores, and I don't think he won his league the last 2 years, but then he turned around and goes to Panama and wins it all down there.
Yeah.
Shows you what kind of coach he is. So.
For sure. Well, you guys sitting at number 4, them sitting at number 1 in those NHSA rankings for that tournament. I mean, it'd be an interesting matchup. I think I would love to see it, for sure.
Yeah. It'll be a good one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and I'm looking forward to coming down and seeing y'all Friday against Hillcrest Christian.
See you Friday night, man. Thank you a lot.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Coach. All right, Coach Andy Braddock out of Russell Christian. And Warriors on a tear. I mentioned they haven't lost a game since 2020, August of 2020. And that was to Ezekiel, I believe. They had back-to-back losses in that one. Or not back-to-back, but Ezekiel 1 week, and then the week before they beat North River, and then the first week of the season they lost to Jacksonville Christian. And the season before that, 2019, let's see. Only loss came to Ezekiel in October. I remember that game. I was at that game. I don't know why I didn't remember that. But regardless. So 3 losses in 19, 20, 21. So far, 4 years. It's pretty wild. Pretty wild string of success that the Warriors have been able to have. And you almost wonder what could have been, because they were an AISA school for all their other sports. Football was the only one they were in the CFA, and then when AISA made the move, they decided to go full-time to CFA and bring all their sports in. So you wonder how they would look in AISA, maybe with a Springwood school matching up with them. So let's see. Take a look at everything, make sure we're good. Okay, all right. Real quick, let's run through some of the games coming up this weekend, and we will start in South Carolina with the SIFA. Orangeburg Christian heads to Columbia to take on the Pack Panthers on Friday night. Orangeburg Christian sitting at 0-3, Pack Panthers at 3-1. Augusta Eagles head to Pembroke, Georgia to take on the Coastal Hurricanes. Hang on. Coastal Hurricanes are in Pembroke, and then Augusta, Georgia. Eagles at 1-3, Hurricanes at 2-1. Let's switch over to the AISA. So coming up on Thursday night, you actually have Evangel Christian Montgomery heading to Selma to take on Meadowview Christian. Meadowview at 0-4, Evangel Christian Montgomery at 0-2. Stewart County High School will head to Southern Prep to take on the Fighting Rangers, who sit at 0-3. Stewart County currently, Max Preps has them at 0-1. North River Christian 1-3. They will head to Lighthouse Christian. Lighthouse Homeschool. They've got the wrong Lighthouse in there. Head to Lighthouse Homeschool to take on the Warriors, who sit at 4-0. Should be a tough matchup for them. And then let's see if I'm missing any of the AISA games. Oh, the big one. I don't know why I didn't mention this. Springwood School and Cornerstone Christian. Cornerstone Christian at 2-0, unbeaten in their last two 11-man games, and Springwood School at 3-0. So this is a big, big game for the AISA. Real quick, I'm going to pull up. Let's see. Let's find Springwood. Let's see what I don't know why Max Preps is tripping out. Anyways. We'll pull up. Anyways, let's switch over to CFA. So Cornerstone Christian is taking on Pineview Christian. Pineview Christian is one of the 6-man teams there in the CFA and the ACSC. Not sure if this game is 6 or 8, but it is taking place on Thursday evening. And then Tabernacle Christian at Victory Christian on Friday night. Tabernacle at 1-2, Victory Christian at 0-2. Hillcrest Christian at Russell Christian. Of course, that's the game of the week that will be at Friday night. Hillcrest, I mentioned, 2-2. Russell Christian at 4-0. And then another big one Friday night. Jacksonville Christian at Tuscaloosa Christian. Jacksonville Christian at 4-0. Tuscaloosa at 2-1. I want to make sure that's all the games. Yep. Okay. All right. Let's switch over to North Carolina. Let's go to the NCISAA. So, let me get this pulled up real quick. Where did that go? There it is. All right. So coming up Friday night, only a couple games on the roster on the schedule. Cara Christian at 2-0 takes on Annandale Parrott Academy at 3-1, and then you have John Paul II Catholic 4-0 taking on Rocky Mount Academy, who sits at 3-0. So two big matchups there in the Big Eight. Switching over to the Colonial Carolina division. On Friday night, you have Lawrence Academy taking on Community Christian. Community Christian, again, independent team out of Wilson, sitting at 0-3. Then Lawrence Academy sitting at 2-1. And then Pungo Christian sitting at 2-2. And Columbia, let's see. Okay, so it's 11-man game. So it's Columbia. Well, they might be playing at 8. Columbia High School taking on Pungo Christian. So I'm not sure if that's an 8 or an 11-man game. Let's go to the TSIAA. And some of these TSIAA teams not really paying much attention to Max Preps, but still find the schedules elsewhere. Saturday night, well, let's back up. Let's go Friday night. Friday night, Lighthouse Christian at Franklin Christian. Lighthouse Christian 0-3, I believe. Franklin Christian 3-0. Let's see. Let's see what Lighthouse Christian is. Lighthouse Christian 0-3, yep. And then Franklin Christian 3-0. Then you also have South Haven Christian at Providence Christian. South Haven at 2-1 rather, and Providence Christian is at 2-1 as well. So a couple 2-1 teams matching up. I don't remember if they played last year. I feel like they didn't. You know what? Let's check. I feel like they didn't play last year. Let's see. Maybe they did. Nope. Didn't play each other last year. So, first time matchup, Providence Christian and South Haven Christian. That game will take place in Murfreesboro. Let's go over to SEAC, Southeastern Extreme Conference. Tennessee Heat have an 11-man game coming up with Eagleville High School, one of those 11-man games that they committed to, and they have to play that game out for the contract. So Tennessee Heat at 2-2, and then Eagleville High School at 1-3. You also have the Freedom Cowboys. This is a big one. This is a big football game. If I wasn't going to be at Hillcrest Christian, at Riverside or Russell Christian, I'd be at this one. But thankfully, you can watch it on Evangel Christian's Athletic YouTube channel, and they'll have this game live. Freedom Cowboys 4-0, Evangel Christian 4-0. This is, if you look up rivalry game in Webster's 1828 dictionary, this comes up. That this is, a picture of this game is right beside it. And Max Preps is being dumb, so I can't pull up the game history. But two teams played for the national championship last year. Freedom Cowboys doing real well in SEAC. Evangel Christian, they're rolling this season in the ACSC. I know. Before I said CFA was in the ACSC. CFA is the ACAA, and CFA is an ACEA, ACAA. And then the ACSC. So, too many A's. Also on Friday night, Zion Christian is at Franklin Classical. And I think Tri-Cities is off this weekend. So, let's go to the ACSC. East Central Homeschool is heading to Ezekiel Academy. East Central at 1-2. Ezekiel Academy at 1-3. And that game is being played on Thursday And then on Friday, North River Christian 1-3. I mentioned they are at Lighthouse Homeschool, who is 4-0. And then I mentioned Freedom Cowboys and Evangel Christian. So, let's see if there's any games I missed. Heartland Conference. Let's go to the Heartland Conference. You've got Claremore Christian taking on Cross Christian on Friday night. You've also got Life Prep taking on Destiny Christian. Life Prep at 0-1, Destiny Christian at 1-2. You also have, it's Claremore Christian 1-1, Cross Christian 0-1. And then Southwest Christian 2-1 takes on Abundant Life, who is 3-0. And then on Saturday, Trinity Christian will take on Unity Christian, both teams sitting at 1-1. And then another game in that area, Cornerstone Spartans 0-3 take on Cornerstone Family at 1-1. And then I believe the last one to go through is the Mason-Dixon Conference. So, I mentioned on Thursday night, Louisiana School for the Deaf. They hosted Mississippi School for the Deaf this past Thursday, and then they will travel to Jackson, Mississippi, which is where the School for the Deaf is, on Thursday night. You also have Alabama School for the Deaf at Tennessee School for the Deaf. That's the game on Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. That'll be the game that we will be broadcasting on Saturday night. So another doubleheader will be in Meridian, Mississippi on Friday, and Knoxville, Tennessee on Saturday. And I think that hits all the games. Let me check. I think that does it. Let me check one more place to see. Nope, that's it. Hit all the games. Look at that. Got it. One fell swoop. So, anyways, well, that will do it. Let's see. See if we can't get this queued up. That'll do it for Extreme Talk. Presented by Coach State. One-stop shop for financial coaching, asset management. Also, looking like Rosemary Young, they're like Profile Protein, brand acquisitions, market growth, Thank you so much for catching Extreme Talk presented by Complete. We'll see you Friday, Meridian, Mississippi. See ya!